Bonjour, I'm just going to take you through a PowerPoint now just to talk to you about how best for your sons and daughters to revise for their languages GCSEs, so their French or their Spanish GCSEs. Unfortunately, with languages, there's not really like a magic bullet or a magic trick. You can't just think, brilliant, I'm just going to cram everything in the last 2 nights before my exams, because quite simply, there's just far too much to try and cram in. You've got over 1,500 words that you need to know, items of vocabulary linked to different topics. You've got 3 or 4 different skills, 3 this year, really for year 11, because the speaking exam is slightly different for year 11 this year. You've got your reading, your listening, and your writing skills to revise for. And so there's just too much to try and cram. So what you must get into early is a bit of a revision program whereby you start doing little and often. So something along the lines of 15 minutes at the moment, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, just doing some vocabulary learning, doing a reading activity, doing a listening activity. If you can build that into your program as of now, as into your sort of program of study as of now, maybe build that up come sort of February time to 15 minutes every day, and then that'll make a massive impact when you get to May and you come to do your exams. Doing it all at the last minute will not work. It's also really important you try and vary your revision. So you try and do maybe some vocab learning, then you try and do some reading, some listening, maybe some authentic materials, maybe do a past paper, or a few questions from a past paper. So try and vary the different bits and pieces that you're doing rather than doing the same thing over and over and over again. So what I'm going to do in this through this PowerPoint, and hopefully if I can get the technology working, is like show you some of the resources that students can use to help them revise. So vocabulary is one of the biggest things, particularly for the reading and listening exam, and bear in mind they're going to be worth 66% of your overall total this year, rather than 50 because of the speaking exams not being counted as an exam as such. So there's a quite big emphasis on those. One of the best websites to use is Memrise. Memrise is fantastic. It's got loads, it's basically got a whole GCSE course of vocabulary on it. It's brilliant for students. Someone's very kindly put all that on there for someone across the country who's done that, to put all the vocab on there for students to revise from. So if I try and show you, you'll know students are quite familiar with what Memrise looks like. But if I try and show you this, it's going to work, hopefully that will work. Hopefully you can see the Memrise screen. This is one of the courses that the students have got a link to, which is the AQA GCSE vocab course. You can see it there. They've got a link to that, either assigned to them as a class or just a link in general. What they can then do is they can look through here. It's broken down into topic by topic and foundation and higher tier. So they can go, oh, I can't remember anything to do with me, my family and friends. And they're doing higher tier. So you click on me, my family and friends, and it brings you up with the list of vocabulary that will appear or may well appear in your reading and listening exam. And so you can then go through, practice the words, you can learn these words, and it takes you through loads of different activities to help you learn those words. The other really good website for this, and again, once again, someone's very kindly put all this vocab on there, is Quizlet. Now, Quizlet's great because it's very similar to Memrise. There's some different games. It's a bit more game orientated than Memrise to help you learn them. It's a bit more interactive games. And basically all the vocabulary that you need for GCSE is on this game as well. So that's great for vocab. Students also have their vocabulary booklets. That again is this list of vocabulary, but in a booklet form. Old school, I know, it's what I had to do when I was at school. There was none of this sort of modern technology around. It was just learn from the booklet. But that's also a good method of learning the words, creating flashcards and bits and pieces as well. So let me just try and go back to the PowerPoint, if this is actually going to work. And there we are. So you've got Memrise and Quizlet, two really great resources to learn your vocabulary and do it in a bit more of an interactive way than just sat at home looking at a piece of paper. Okay. The other thing that's good for vocab, also for reading and listening, is our online workbook, which is Caboodle. The students, again, are really familiar with using Caboodle. They do it, they've done it in the IT suite, they've all logged on, they've made sure they can log on, and essentially it's the textbook we sometimes use in class, but as an online version. So if I do a new share with you and just show you Caboodle as well, so if I share that and then just show you up here, Caboodle. So Caboodle looks a little bit like this. They go to the right book that they need, and they can open up a page, and basically it takes them through to whatever topic it is they might want to do. So this is all in the environment. It's what I've done most recently. My year 11 group, year 11's been studying, and they'll be able to do reading and listening activities. As you can see, there's a reading activity here, there's some questions here, there's listening activities that they can listen to and do the listening as well, which is brilliant. So it's a really good way of revising sort of some of the vocabulary, but in actual text through reading, listening, rather than more in isolation, just as a single word. What is also really good with Kaboodle is at the end of each module, so I've just moved on 4 or 5 pages, at the end of each module, there is the vocabulary for that topic. So it's the environment vocabulary, and once again, you've got it, you've also got the sound file, so it says it for you as well. So you can hear it as well as read it, and you can test yourself and do lots of bits and pieces like with that. So those are really great ways of learning and practicing the vocabulary. So back to the PowerPoint, that's to do with vocab. Grammar's a little bit different. Grammar's perhaps a bit more for higher tier, but probably mainly a focus for your writing exam as well, rather than your reading and listening exams. But still really, really, really useful, particularly getting your tenses right. It's one of the big focuses of the writing exam is getting your tenses right, be that past, present, and future, or perhaps for higher tier, both past tenses, both future tenses, the conditional, the present, and so on and so forth. So this website here, Languages Online, is fantastic for grammar. It's one of the better grammar websites that there is. And again, if I try and share that with you, possibly, am I going to do that? Let's have a little look. It looks a little bit like this. So at the top here, you've got this screen, you go to Francais for French, and then you click on grammar here for the grammar section. This is great because basically it goes through the different tenses. Now, some won't be relevant. The students might go, oh, I can't remember anything to do with the future tense. So you can go to the future tense, click on it. You can scroll down, and what you've got is a little explanation to start off with, and then you've got loads of activities. So if I was to say, click on this activity, I basically, it's closed grammar activities. So I basically have to put this verb here, jouer, into the future tense to make the sentence into I will play hockey at the weekend. I can type the right answer in, and I click verify at the end, and it tells me my score, tells me my percentage. It's instant feedback on how you've gone on. So again, a really useful website for practicing your tenses, for practicing your grammar, particularly for the writing exam. But really good. And again, to do one of those exercises and maybe read the notes in it, probably 10 to 15 minutes. So you could easily do in one of those 10 to 15 minute slots that I talked about at the start of this. So let me just try and, again, going back to the PowerPoint. It's a bit clunky doing it this way. But anyway, right, so there we are. So that's the grammar. Other things that are really good for reading, listening practice are on the next slide on here. So you've got AQA, that's the exam board we use. On here, you've got lots of past papers. So you've got past listening papers, you've got past reading papers. So students can do some real exam specific revision. They can actually really focus in on an exam technique and do those past papers. The answers are also on those websites as well. So they can then self-mark and see how they've gotten on. It's a really good way of revising specifically for the exam. Things that I also, that's quite heavy, that's quite sort of, perhaps I would suggest maybe something you want to do, not cramming, but perhaps a few weeks before your exams, mocks in around Christmas time or sort of Easter time for your real exams. But what's perhaps a bit more fun and stuff that's actually really, really useful to do as well is to use some more authentic materials. So both these ones at the bottom are newspapers for French children, so children aged between 8 and 14 in France, so they're authentic French newspapers, but they're designed for children. So the language they use is a little bit more simple. So if I just show you one of those, because I think they are great, what I can do is just share that. If I click up there, you see this is Un Jour Actu. And it's a really nice newspaper. It's obviously all online. The article's quite short. There's also listenings. Okay, so when you've got un jour une question, that's like a listening. Okay, so they can listen to a video on that. And they've got loads of different articles here as well about things that are going on in the news at the moment, which is great. So if you were, say, interested in the environment, you've read this, look, it's giant fires in the west of America, the United States, you could click on it and you can read the article. Great for the environment topic as well, actually, but you've got pictures there to help you, a little article summary at the top, and then a slightly larger section of the article at the bottom. But again, none of it's really, really heavy. It's designed for children, so it's not too difficult. And you can start to read through it. You won't understand it all, but you can start to read through it and work out keywords, which is a really good reading technique. Like you've got États-Unis, that's the United States, you've got feu de forêt, forest fires, you've got violent, which is violent. So you can start to work out violent forest fires in the United States. You can start to use this as a really good reading platform to help you with your reading skills. And hopefully you'll be able to find out some articles that interest you. If you are particularly interested in something, you can use the recherche button at the top. If you're interested in dance or rugby or whatever it might be, you can type those words into the search part there, and it will bring up articles linked to those things. So that's a really nice one. And again, it takes 10-15 minutes to do that, which fits nicely into one of those sort of 10-15 minute slots that you can use that as one of the ways to revise as well, which is fantastic. So that is a great way of revising. The other website that I put there is also, just go back to the PowerPoint, Journal des Enfants, the same sort of thing. I actually prefer the first one, but others might prefer the second one. It's a good way of revising. The other things that you can do for listening, which are really good, is listening to music. That's a really nice way, not too heavy, but quite a nice way of revising just your listening skills, tuning your ear in. There's some artists we've put on here for the French. The Spanish is a similar PowerPoint with the Spanish artists on for the Spanish revision. It's just a nice way. You can find all of these on YouTube. It's a nice way to tune your ear in. You might find a song you like, or an artist you like and want to listen to more of their music. And similarly, this website here is that, but with some activities linked to it. So you listen to a song and you fill in the gaps in the words that are there. So you actually have to listen really carefully to the lyrics and try and listen to fill out the gaps in the lyrics. So that's quite a nice website to do as well. The other thing that's really good for your listening skills is watching films. There's loads of them that we've got in the language office that you can come and ask to borrow. There's also loads on Netflix and other sort of platforms like that. So I think Amazon Prime as well, I think you can get quite a few. So great films to watch. It's a nice way of watching them with the subtitles either in English or in French. You can watch them with a friend. You just kind of tune yourself in. It's very cultural. It's also a good website to tune your ear a little bit to the French language or the Spanish language if you're watching a Spanish film. It's not the only way I want you to revise. It's not just, oh, let's just watch 6 French films and we'll find our French edition, but it's one thing you may wish to do of an evening, because there are some great films in French or Spanish or Spanish that you can then watch maybe once or twice between now and your exams, which helps another method to help you revise, but quite good fun. Okay, the last one is again a bit more specific, a bit more exam guided, but they are the revision guides that are available on the Learning Zone. They're actually in purple revision guides. I can't look at grey on this PowerPoint. They're purple revision guides designed specifically for the AQA exam, which is the course we do with our students at GCSE. So they're really, really useful for that targeted exam revision. You have a revision guide and you have a revision workbook, and they're slightly different, but essentially you can manage them both the same. The revision guide gives you some more tips. So it talks about some of the skills, listening tips, small words, some of the skills you need to use to do certain activities. And then you can read the skills, do the activity, check the answers in the back. The revision workbook is very much, there's not really any skills tips there. It's kind of like, this is the activity, do it, check your answers, see how you've got on. Okay, so a bit more summative, a bit less formative. But they're both really useful methods. They both come with answers in the back, and they both come within, on the front and side cover is the website. It's not a CD anymore, it's a website to where you can find the sound files. And again, if you dip in and out of those, it takes probably 5 minutes to do one of these activities. You could do 3 in your 15 to 20 minute slot, check your answer, see how you've gotten on. If you didn't do particularly well, say with the rules at school one, you might think, you know what, I need to go back and revise some of the vocabulary or memorize from rules at school so I can get better at doing that, and then have another go at doing the activity with it a few weeks later. So there is a absolute plethora of things you can use to help you revise for languages. Loads of it's really interactive, loads of it's a lot more fun than it used to be, because you've got loads of access to things online, as well as things like Amazon Prime, Netflix for films, and so on and so forth. So it's a much more interactive thing to revise from than it ever used to be. But take on board, you need to do little and often, and you need to vary what you do. Because otherwise, A, it gets really boring, and B, you cannot cram everything into the last couple of weeks. And if you do little and often, 15 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week starting now, build that up as you get close to the exams, it will make a huge difference for your results come August time when you come to get your results. Okay, I hope you found that useful. The PowerPoint can be found on the Learning Zone. There's a Spanish version and a French version, as well as links to, well, the links on the PowerPoint. Also, there's some revision document with links and strategies on there as well help students revise their exams.